Welcome everyone to Not That Media. My name is John and in today's video I continue the series relating to the upcoming horror convention For the Love of Horror in Manchester, UK. I'm taking some time to do a little bit of an overview of all the actors and actresses that I'm intending to meet, give you a couple of film recommendations if you've never heard of them, and just give you my opinion of why I think they're great and I can't wait to meet them. So come along with me as this time I talk about Linnea Quigley. When people talk about Scream Queens, inevitably it's always normally the same two or three actresses: Jamie Lee Curtis, Neve Campbell, or Hella Langenkamp, to name three. They're always mentioned, and they quite rightly should be mentioned. They are Scream Queens. But one actress who I sometimes feel doesn't quite get her dues, certainly in the UK, is Linnea Quigley. Now, Linnea Quigley has appeared in a multitude of horror films across the 80s and the 90s and even beyond. She is very well regarded, very highly recognised, but I do think that because of the UK's failure to actually release quite a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays with films that she's in, she might be one of those actresses that goes a little bit under the radar these days. Certainly when she came up at the HorrorCon for the Love of Horror, I didn't know who she was. And it's only because I took a punt with one film that I'm going to talk about in a moment that I discovered her, and then quickly discovered that she was in another film that I really enjoyed, and then subsequently I bought another one. So I'm really pleased in 2024 that I'm going to be able to meet an actress who has had quite an impact on my horror watching this year, and it doesn't come from a nostalgic perspective, because I think sometimes people, they talk about people with an air of nostalgia. You know, I will always talk about Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween, from when I was 8 watching Halloween on Channel 5 through the bed sheets, things like that. I don't have those stories with Linnea Quigley, and sometimes I think that works quite well, because I think the real stars and I think the real films that hold up are those ones that you can go into in your late 30s and actually have a good time. So that's just my little soapbox moment. I think Linnea Quigley deserves the moniker of Scream Queen, and I'm going to give you 3 examples, which is why I think that's the case. So my first Linnea Quigley recommendation is a film that she only has a very small part in, but it's certainly a very memorable part, and that is Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now, she appears, I think, about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the film, and she appears purely as exactly what you would expect from a slasher film in the early 80s. She is there to have sex and die, essentially. She plays a promiscuous girl who is at a house with her boyfriend, and the Christmas killer, or the Santa killer, however you want to regard him, comes in and deals his punishment on both of them. Now, her kill is iconic, and I'm not sure what kind of pictures will be able to appear, because, as we will discover as I talk about the next films, Linnea Quigley spends a good amount of her scenes with at least no top on, so it's probably very difficult to show stuff relating to her on YouTube. So if the pictures aren't particularly exciting, sorry, but I'll probably get copyrighted and banned if I show the stuff that people probably want to see. But her kill involving antlers is very, very memorable. The film Silent Night, Deadly Night is a pretty good slasher film. She makes a memorable appearance, but it's not a very big appearance, and she doesn't play a central character. But if you're just looking for a quick appearance and, oh, there she is, Silent Night, Deadly Night is your movie. My second recommendation for Linnea Quigley is a film that over in the UK maybe it hasn't had quite the acclaim it deserves, but it certainly has its place in cult history. It's huge over in America and is celebrating its 40th anniversary. It's never been out of pop culture, and although it's really hard to find, in fact virtually impossible to find physically in the UK, I think it is available for streaming. It is regarded as a zombie classic, and of course I'm talking about The Return of the Living Dead. Now, Return of the Living Dead is the unofficial sequel to Night of the Living Dead. It exists semi within the same Romero world, and it involves quite literally the return of the living dead. I'm not here to talk about the detail of the movie, I'm not here to spoil the film, I'm here to talk about a specific actor or actress within the film, so I strongly recommend you go and see this film. The reason that I hold Linnea Quigley quite highly in this film, and no, it's not for the obvious reasons for those of you who have seen it, is she plays a character of trash. So whilst the events that lead to the zombie resurrection are taking place, she and her friends are in the local graveyard having a party, like a punk party. They're a punk group, they're drinking, up to no good kind of a thing. And Linnea Quigley asks she asks somebody what they think, how they want to die, and she does this very strange thing where she explains that she wants to die in a very certain way, and then proceeds to strip naked and dance for the amusement of her friends. Now, the thing that makes this rather ironic is that all of her friends are not shocked when she does this. It's almost a, oh, here she goes again kind of a situation. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I was never friends with anybody like that in high school or college. I never hung around a graveyard and had a friend who said, I know what's a good idea, go on, and then just took all her clothes off. But for reasons that are never really explained in the movie, Linnea Quigley does that. She was very happy to do it. The documentary goes through it. She had, again, similar to the Silent Night, Deadly Night, she had no aversion to the nudity. But what then happens is a rainstorm as a result of the zombie resurrection occurs, and she becomes, mild spoilers, infected, and she eventually does become a zombie. Now, the film is great, it's hilarious, it is proper 1980s, the aesthetic is spot on, it's banging 1985, so the music is fantastic, the effects, the practical effects are fantastic, the iconic Tarman zombie is there, everything you know about zombie wanting brains and saying brains comes from this film. It has some surprisingly humble and heartwarming moments. The zombies have a little bit more consciousness than your standard zombie, so you do actually get to see what happens when someone doesn't want to be a zombie. You get the fantastic comedy of police showing up, zombies massacring all these people, and then calling in the radio to say, send more police. So the film is hilarious. It doesn't hold back on the gore. It's got some really creative effects. Linnea Quigley, she is a real trooper in this movie, not just because of the need for the nudity, but the fact that she spends, and again, at the risk and not trying to sound either lecherous or like this is the only reason to watch this film, she is naked in this film for the majority of the time. Now, she has her modesty protected, which was as a result of the studio saying that you can't have this happening, but she has some terrible things happening to her in this film. She is constantly being rained on, water thrown at her. She is running around in the dark, in the middle of the night, in real streets, not on sets. Just when you think she's managing to escape and she manages to get a little bit of clothing on, that's torn off. She's then being thrown in the mud and the bog and the water and being attacked by zombies, grabbing left, right and centre. She is a real trooper, and you watch this film, me and Joe were watching it, and we were just saying that she must, if she didn't get paid stunt or extra for what she did, then she got absolutely scammed, because she goes above and beyond everybody else. And just when she spent half the film being this kind of nudity in peril is probably the best way of explaining it, when she comes back as a zombie, she's then painted white head to toe. I saw a fantastic comparison, which is she comes back as a zombie Ronald McDonald kind of looking character, but again, she is head to toe nudity, running around the streets in the middle of the night with a horde of people. She gives 100% to this film, and it shows when you watch it. Her appearance is memorable. It is not necessarily full, like she's not there all the time, but when she's on screen, she's memorable. I doubt there's very little I can actually show you similar to Silent Night, Deadly Night, because she is an iconic character in this movie. So it is a real strong recommend, not just because of Linnea Quigley. This is a fantastic film. My third and final recommendation for Linnea Quigley is a film that I think in the UK is largely unappreciated and unrecognised. For reasons that I don't know, I was not able to find any physical release, past or present or future for it, and streaming seemed to be a bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's rentable, sometimes it's only buyable, and sometimes it's just not available at all. It's a very highly regarded movie, and it is Night of the Demons. In America, it's absolutely loved. This is the original Scream Factory Blu-ray. I also have the Scream Factory 4K, which has just been released. It has Linnea Quigley. I believe her character's name is Charlie. It's been a little while since I watched it, but I'm sure it was Charlie, and she plays one of the main roles. She's right there on the cover in the middle, so she gets front and center on this release. Traditionally, Night of the Demons tends to focus more on Angela, which is Amelia Kincaid's character, but I really liked this cover because she was front and center on that one. To explain Night of the Demons in a nutshell, Linnea Quigley plays, I believe, Charlie Charlie. I haven't seen it in a little while. It's been a couple of weeks. I might be getting that name wrong. But she is best friends with the other title character, Angela, played by Linnea Quigley. The two of them are planning a Halloween party. Angela has intentions for seances and contacting the dead. She just wants to have a good time and meet up with boys. In fact, the only question she ever seems to ask Angela is how many boys are going to be there, how many men are going to be there. So her idea of a good Halloween night has one thing on her mind. She's very ditzy, she's very silly. When she is introduced, she is made out to be deliberately a sex symbol to distract the men while Angela is pinching and stealing items for the party. So they make a point to kind of, you know, make her out to be a bit of a blonde bimbo-y kind of character. When they get to Hull House and the seance takes place and possessions begin to take place, I won't be spoiling this film in any great detail, but yeah, I'll be careful what I say. When Linnea Quigley's character is possessed, she goes from blonde ditzy bimbo to being instantly serious and calm and collected. It's a proper heel turn, and you see it almost live as you're watching it. There's no special effects, there's nothing over the top when it happens. 1 minute she's acting one way, the next minute she's acting another. And it's actually very threatening, it's very concerning. You instantly feel like, oh dear, something really bad is about to happen. She then proceeds to wander off, and she does something with a lipstick, and your imaginations will probably go into overdrive, but I promise you it's nowhere near what you're probably thinking. And if you come up with it, I would say to you, what's wrong with you? But she does something with a lipstick in her possessed state that me and my wife were jaws on the floor. Like, not just because A, she was doing it, but B, how the heck did they do that? And Linnea Quigley, she totally sells it. She does it totally seriously faced. She has no issue doing what's being asked of her, either in a possession way or any other kind of a way that she reeks confidence in this film. When the moment comes and the revelation and the reveal of the demons take place, whilst Angela will always be the icon of Night of the Demons, Linnea Quigley's performance, which is actually, when I say subtle, I mean her makeup, her demon makeup is nowhere near as advanced as Linnea Quigley. Arguably, Linnea Quigley is overshadowed maybe a little bit by Linnea Quigley's demon, which is a hard thing to say when you know this franchise, but she's really scary, and I really commend Linnea Quigley's performance in this film. It's a huge recommend. It's well worth watching. This will be in my annual Halloween watch, no questions asked. She is fantastic. She is terrifying. She plays exactly what you would want in the film. Strong recommend. So I think that's going to do it for this video. Of the three films I've recommended for Linnea Quigley, I would always recommend Night of the Demons, I think, out of the three. Whilst she is more recognisable and iconic in her performance of Return of the Living Dead, I think in terms of seeing Linnea Quigley, the actress, and her range and what she can do, Night of the Demons is a really good example. She gives you everything that she became known for as a scream queen. She plays up the sexuality at the beginning, but when the heel turn takes place and she becomes the demon, she shows that she is more than capable of carrying a movie and being equally as frightening as the franchise's icon. Angela will always be regarded as Night of the Demons icon, but I would actually argue Linnea Quigley's character is a very close second in that movie, and in fact I think she has about the same screen time, to be honest. But Linnea Quigley, perhaps a forgotten scream queen, perhaps one that doesn't get her due, perhaps she's underrated or dismissed because of the level of nudity that she did in her films. Horror and sex, horror and nudity always play hand in hand, certainly in the 70s and the 80s, but I would recommend actually giving her films a bit of a look. I recommend starting with Night of the Demons, maybe going to Return of the Living Dead after that like I did, and then seeing the other films she does, because she's done loads of films. She's still a working actress, and she is a recommend, and I can't wait to meet her, as with many others, at the con. So with that being said, until next time, stay scared.
Relax! I just want to look good for the boys!